3, 2.
And welcome to this Partners Hangout on Air. My name is Amanda.
I'm Rob. Good to meet y'all.
And we're really excited that you're here joining us today. And we're actually really excited to be talking about mobile. This is going to be the first in a monthly series talking about mobile. And we really wanted to start off with talking about what's happening on mobile to give you a good primer for some things to come.
Yeah, we're excited. Mobile is where everything happens these days. So we're going to discuss how you can better target those consumers and understand them and be there present to serve information or ads to them when they're looking for it.
Absolutely. Quick reminder, there is going to be a live Q&A at the end of the session. So feel free to ask us questions during the presentation, and we will be sure to get to them at the end.
Yeah, awesome. So let's jump into it. Our presentation has 3 parts. So if you just click to the next slide for me. Yeah, so we want to help you position mobile to your clients. And we want to help you agree on 3 things so that mobile is with everyone, everywhere, and all times. It is ever present, and it's the new reality. So we'll go through a little bit of that, and then we'll talk about how you can target those users based on intent and how that's more useful than just targeting on demographics, which is kind of like the way we currently do things on the desktop web. And then finally, we'll talk about how you can manage your mobile presence and why that's so important and a few tips on how to do that. So let's jump into it. Our VP of Search and Engineering, John G, said that mobile is the remote control for your life, which I like that. I think that's very true. It's very true for me. Everything that I want to do or get done is done on my phone. So yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like it's the new remote control for everything we want to do.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, 60% of time spent with media is on mobile. People now spend almost 3 hours a day on their mobile phones. And if you think about even like 3 to 5 to 10 years ago, phones were really for sending text messages or making phone calls. And now it's an entire universe in your pocket. So we at Google are really interested in helping you figure out what that means for your businesses and for the businesses that you work with.
Yeah.
So, Rob, have you heard of this little phenomenon called nomophobia?
I have not. Nomophobia. Tell me about that.
Well, as you know, mobile has grown really rapidly and plays a really important role as an influencer in people's lives. But nomophobia is the fear of being without a mobile device, power source,
scary.
or service area. I know. So if you think about it, like picture this scenario. You're at an airport and your phone dies and you don't have a charger.
Right.
How are you going to call your ride home? How are you going to let your parents know that you've landed?
Right.
It's like that scenario just kind of gives me a little chill. And it's really interesting because we're so connected these days. This is playing such a key role in our lives, and the fear of being without one affects like 66% of people.
Absolutely.
Pretty funny.
I mean, this guy looks very scared.
I know he's doing the like daily pat down that I know I do.
Yeah, I can't even handle like being without my phone, so I just bring a battery everywhere I go. It's always in my car or my backpack. Yeah. So, anyways, that helps me not have nomophobia. But anyway, we're tuning more than ever, and we're using our phones to do it. Most of the time, we're not at home. We're on a computer. We're out and about. We're at work. We're on the go, and we're using our mobile phones. So some of the pictures here show people looking up a restaurant, learning how to tie a tie, going on a run and tracking their activity, waiting at a bus stop, just kind of checking the news. All these things. So many moments throughout our day in which we're spending it on our mobile phones. And so actually, the data shows us that the average person checks their phone 150 times per day. That might even be low for me. But you wake up and you read the news online. You use a flashlight sometimes. You use your alarm. My daily schedule looks a lot like this. I wake up to my alarm around 7, 6:30 if I'm feeling ambitious that day. I'll check the news pretty early on my way to work. I might read a text from my friend Nick. I'll send some email when I get to work. I'll check Twitter in the afternoon. Maybe I want to feel inspired around 3:30, kind of when I'm in that afternoon, slow, sleepy time, and I'll watch a YouTube video. After work, I might be looking for a restaurant to meet a friend at, and I'll look for something in downtown Palo Alto. And then around 7:40, I might post a picture of a sunset to one of my many social media feeds. And so there's all these moments throughout my day in which I'm having a very powerful experience with my phone. I'm not just searching something. I'm making it part of my life. It's very much part of what I'm doing and who I am and where I'm going. And
Sure.
so yeah, that's basically kind of what we do with our phones throughout the day.
Right, and I think it's important to notice here too, not only are we engaging a lot more with our mobile devices than we used to, but that not every single engagement is going to be a meaningful engagement, especially when you think about how to advertise or how to attract an audience on mobile. When we're thinking about a purchasing decision, it's going to be more useful to try to figure out which moments are kind of the best times to reach your audience and deliver content that matters, rather than trying to blast a message across every single interaction. So that's going to be our next piece is, targeting based off intent rather than demographics, trying to serve content to people when they're looking and when they're going to be really primed for your message.
Yeah, and certainly some moments on mobile are much more important than others.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, let's jump into kind of like how you can target based on the most important moments for you and for your user.
Sure. So when we're thinking about mobile and trying to account for just the explosive growth that we've seen here in the last couple of years, the primary narrative that we're thinking about in terms of advertising and in terms of tracking a journey to purchase is called micro moments. And this kind of seems familiar. We can relate, to this example because we've all had moments like these. These moments are loaded with intent, immediacy, and context. So as consumers, we're looking at, what are we trying to do? What's our intent? We expect you to understand what situation we're in when we're looking for this, our context. And finally, we're, expecting you to meet our needs immediately. So, not only are we looking for, answers to a specific question or in a particular moment, but we're usually looking for answers right now. So all of these three factors converge to create a really powerful micro moment. And if you think about it, these little moments, being there for the customer matters more than ever. These micro moments are where our hearts, minds, and dollars are being won and lost. And that makes micro moments really the new battleground for brands.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they're so important. We want to talk about like maybe some real life examples and Amy, for example, and all the moments she has throughout her day.
Sure. So meet Amy. Amy is a young, single 20-something living and working in New York. She really enjoys going out to dinner, spending time with friends, and even has a pet dog named Charlie. Actually, maybe not. I kind of just made that up. But anyway, most importantly, Amy, like many of her peers, and I'm guessing like many of you, has a mobile phone. In fact, she has an Android, of course.
Of course, yeah.
And she uses it throughout the day. So this image shows all of Amy's digital moments over a 2-month period last holiday season, actually really more like a 1-month period last holiday season. Now, these moments cover search, the web, video, and apps, and each tick that you see here is an individual digital interaction. Over this 2-month span, Amy had nearly 19,000 moments. And so, as marketers, it would be really easy for us to say, hey, let's make sure our product is present during all of these digital moments. But in fact, that's really a misstep because we need to focus on the moments that matter rather than every single moment. Rob, think about it. If you're playing a game like a Candy Crush on your phone, for example, and like an ad pops up, is that going to be a really good time to like try to get you to buy a product?
Yeah, probably not the best time. I just want to play my game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not really focusing on every single product. It's more, finding these ones where we're primed to hear a message and actually ready to be influenced on the path to purchase. So on this next slide, we're going to focus on just one purchase or series of purchases related to an event in Amy's life. During this time, she was planning a trip to Disney World. And as you can see on the top bar, her interactions on the web with Disney World span this whole month. So she was probably making flight reservations. She was probably making dinner reservations, trying to figure out like where are the best places to go? Are there any new attractions? So the following 3 bars show the interactions that she had spanning search, video, and just the regular web or display network. And what's remarkable, I think, Rob, about this is that 87% of these mobile moments happened on mobile devices. Mm-hmm. So she was thinking about this constantly and searching at all points throughout her day. Mm-hmm. So these are really going to be, great times for a brand to deliver her needs. And, these 419 intent-rich moments shaped and guided her decisions. And it actually shaped her preferences.
Absolutely. Yeah, and she she eventually made that purchase, but there was a lot that happened along the way, right?
Pretty long sales cycle.
Yeah, and so mobile's a different world in which we're influenced by the things we see on that mobile phone, but we might not take action immediately, but it will influence us down the line.
Sure.
So absolutely. So we've broken down these user moments into 5 categories. And these are the times when a user is doing something very important to them and where advertisers can jump in and be of help. So first, you have the I want to watch what I'm into moments. We know YouTube is the #1 platform for 18 to 34-year-olds when they want to explore their passions or their interests, or they want to be entertained or inspired. And 53% of all online video viewers are doing that. We also have I want to know moments. We go to Google for all of our questions. And 65% of online consumers are looking at more information online than there were a few years ago. And so all of this information is coming into their phones. And 66% of all the searches are actually done on their phones. There's also the I want to go moments. There's been a 2x increase in near me search interest in the past year. So you're out, you're doing something, and you want to maybe go to dinner, or you want to see a show, or you want to find a specific landmark, find coffee, whatever it is. You're on the go, you're on the phone looking for something.
It's like you looking for restaurants in Palo Alto.
I'm always doing it, yeah. I'm always looking for the next best restaurant or whatever I haven't been to. And I do that all the time. 82% of smartphone users are using a search engine when looking for a local business. I always do it. I should go to Google Maps because it has the hours and all that stuff.
You can call them right from the app. It's really easy.
Oh, yeah, and you can always call right there. And I do call all the time. It's great. I want to do moments. Those are also super important. You told me an interesting stat about YouTube.
Yeah.
Which was?
The #1 searched video last year was actually how to tie a tie, which does not surprise me at all, actually.
Yeah, it's like something that nobody knows how to do, but everybody has to do at least once a year.
Yep.
They have to put a tie on and show up to something fancy. But so people are turning to their phones to learn how to do things. And then finally, there's those I want to buy moments. People who are looking to buy something in the future or are ready to buy in that moment. I know for me personally, I purchased 6 to 10 things on my phone just this week. And those were certainly influenced by advertisers or people who put themselves in my pathway to find the product I was looking for.
Absolutely. And I think what's also really interesting here too is that, in the past, we've always thought of this really stark divide between, your in-store presence and your online e-commerce presence. Whereas increasingly what we're seeing is that people are going to your stores and actually pulling up a website and doing price comparisons or looking for reviews. The online presence that you have is influencing what people are doing in the moment in the stores. And in fact, 82% of smartphone users consult their phones while in a store deciding what to buy. And I'm sure that many of you have shared this experience. So this is one of the reasons why it's so important to have a really well-curated mobile experience, make it really, really easy for consumers to find information about your products, to find reviews of your products, and actually help facilitate them on their path to buy.
And it starts with understanding your users and your consumers very well and what problems they face. One of the best examples of someone who did this was the Red Roof Inn.
Yeah, absolutely. So Red Roof Inn is actually one of my favorite examples of a brand really identifying the perfect moment and truly being there for its customer when they really needed them the most. So Red Roof Inn actually won this micro moment by taking into the account the intent, the content, and the immediacy as we discussed kind of along the way. So when Red Roof Inn realized that flight cancellations were leaving about 90,000 passengers stranded daily, their marketing team developed a really easy way to track flight delays in real time and trigger targeted search ads for Red Roof Inns near airports. So ads that said, in essence, stranded at the airport, come stay with us. Identified and really committed to those, I need a hotel right now if my flight's been delayed or canceled and I really need somewhere to stay. These moments are really important to consumers, and Red Roof Inn delivered with relevance on what people really needed. So as a result, a remarkable 60% increase in bookings across non-branded search campaigns, which is really, I think, really fantastic.
And amazingly clever. Like, I'm impressed that they found that data, they took advantage of it, and they got users what they needed, what they were looking for. So brilliant work on Red Roof Inn.
For sure. So, we know that this is the micro moment narrative is something a little bit new. And for a lot of the advertisers that you work with, figuring out how mobile fits into the overall puzzle of their business and their marketing strategy has been, heretofore a little difficult. So one of the ways that we've approached this that's actually been pretty successful is with something called a walk of micro moments, where an agency will basically physically set up a consumer's path to purchase for a particular product so that the advertiser can literally go and walk through and see, what are the influences that are acting upon this consumer? How are they making their purchase decisions? And it's a really good, really tactile way of, communicating this message of, mobile is part of an overall really tight strategy towards influencing more purchasers.
As you walk through those micro moments, you'll see that your business goals align very well with the user's needs, which align very well with Google ad products.
Sure.
And so if we jump to the next slide, you'll see, for example, that if you're looking for phone calls to your business, a user might be looking for an insurance plan. And for that, we have click-to-call ads, and users can call straight from their phone. If you're looking for foot traffic to your store and a user is looking for a new suit, we have store visit tracking. Another one is if you want loyal customers, people who are going to stay with you for a long time, and customers are looking for that a great experience, somebody that they can trust. We have audience targeting ads, so you can retarget those customers and find them again and make sure that your brand is top of mind for them.
Absolutely.
Cool. So let's talk about what resources we have online if you want to kind of learn more about micro moments.
Sure, absolutely. And I think this is a topic that's probably pretty new to some of you, and there's a lot of resources and a lot of information that Google's compiled about this. So if you're interested in learning more, feel free to check out the Micro Moments page on Think with Google for more in-depth resources. As well, just a quick reminder, we are doing a live Q&A after this presentation. So if you have questions about micro moments or want to kind of learn more from us, feel free to ask those and we'll address them after the presentation.
Great. So let's get to the final part, which is how to manage your mobile presence. So this is focused on what you can do and how we can be of help for you. There's 3 easy steps to making sure that you are managing your mobile presence well and winning in those micro moments. So first, you're going to want to be there. Being there is about knowing your customer, where they are, what stage of the cycle they're in, and what their interests or what their intent is. So you can be present in those experiences. Being useful is about knowing what ads to serve them, making sure you have your mobile site optimized and that it's a very positive user experience for anyone who wants to buy your product or use your services. And then finally, being accountable. There are a lot of great metrics, ways to measure the return on investment with mobile, and we want to talk about the tools that we have for that.
Yeah, and finally, we're here to help. Today is as much about providing you with insight into what we see in the industry as it is about engaging in a dialogue about your businesses and how these insights can be applied. So, you're all Google partners. You're all experts at, understanding audiences, understanding kind of what the path to purchase is for different advertisers. Tap into that expertise to help you identify what these micro moments are going to look like. Ask yourself, what does a day in the life of your consumer look like? When might they turn to digital during their day? And furthermore, what does their journey look like? Have you, taken a look at, what people might be researching in order to actually make a purchase on, again, your example of the milk frother?
Yeah.
Can you look at some research that maybe some UX teams have done to kind of do some journey mapping, and see it through a new lens? One in which consumers are turning to the supercomputer in their pocket reflexively throughout the day, whether they're looking for inspiration or to fulfill a need, or really just to buy something, or maybe even to be entertained.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so important to know who your consumer is and what problems they face and what they're looking for.
Yes. And you have your consumer in mind. You're in their shoes. So now it's time to think about kind of what could trigger a micro moment for them. We see that there are 2 types of stimulus. So the first type of trigger is a brand-generated stimulus. And this could be a TV spot if you're running commercials, a billboard, maybe a YouTube video ad, or even potentially like a Pinterest or Twitter post. It's kind of rare that branded campaigns stimulate a micro moment. The creative has to be really compelling or really perfectly timed for this. But this media can build brand preference and influence future decisions in a micro moment. It could cause someone to search for your brands, like a Bodum milk frother versus just a milk frother. And when brand-generated stimulus does trigger a micro moment, it often results in a non-branded search. For example, we found that searches after a TV spot tended to be more general, kind of category terms like car insurance versus branded terms like progressive car insurance. It's important to keep this in mind and think about what stimulus you or even your competition is putting out into the world, so you're there to connect the dots if a micro moment is triggered. The second type of stimulus is the need-based real-world stimulus that we've been talking about up till now. So these are the, I want to go, I want to do, I want to buy moments. Like my hair dryer broke, or I want to try a new hairstyle, my kid won their big game and we want to go celebrate. These are the most common stimuli, and they require a little bit more effort to try to place yourself in the shoes of your most likely purchaser and try to figure out what's fueling them, what's driving them through their day and actually driving them to buy.
Awesome. So that's all about being there and understanding the consumer and being there for them when they need you. Second is being useful. So we want to make sure that you have a killer user experience. We can help you with kind of a mobile UX audit and make sure that you have a 96 out of 100 or higher. Things that go into that are like using legible font sizes, configuring the viewport, sizing the content correctly, avoiding plugins that just get in the way and pop up in the user's face, avoiding using interstitials and stuff like that. And so you also want to focus on site speed. In this case, it's a little bit lower than we would have hoped. But you definitely want to eliminate render blocking JavaScript. You want to enable compression. You want to make sure everything happens very quickly and in a very timely way for the user. And avoiding landing page redirects, stuff like that. You don't want to send users on a wild goose chase to find the content they're looking for. You want to make sure it's very, very simple.
Absolutely. And the final piece here is all about measurement. And it's really about moving away from a last click attribution model to something that takes into account the longer sales funnel that we've been presenting to you guys. So, cross-device tracking is a really good place to start here. So say, for example, I'm in a store and I'm looking for a particular type of pasta to make for dinner tonight. Or someone's searching for a gift over a lunch break on a mobile device. I might click on a mobile ad, go find the perfect gift, and then save it for later. So kind of keep it in my memory bank, and then later on, go to the direct site on my computer and actually make a purchase. With the all conversions column reporting, this conversion can be really easily attributed to the initial ad click, so kind of where the initial user first found out about the product, even though the conversion completed on another device. So this is really important for helping your advertisers start to understand, again, how mobile is playing into their overall strategy and how best to leverage this for the best possible growth.
Awesome. Great. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take some questions. So we appreciate all those that have added. Thank you. So let's jump into some of those. Thomas is asking, is anyone running mobile call-only campaigns and search campaigns on the same keywords and some locations and the same locations with success? That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Running mobile call-only campaigns and search campaigns with the same keywords. What have you seen in that? I mean, we've looked at a lot of AdWords accounts and we've tried a lot of strategies, but yeah.
I tend to see the differentiation between call-only and regular search campaigns is you want to make sure that your ad language is very tailored to the intent. So if you're running a call-only campaign, you want to direct the user towards calling you. Whereas with a regular search campaign, if you're doing an identical call-only campaign, you might want to try thinking about some types of conversion actions that are meaningful on the site itself. So if you're an e-commerce site, that could be filling out a transaction. It could be a lead generation form. So honestly, we have seen success if the strategies for the two campaigns are pretty disparate. If we're doing the exact same thing for both campaigns, it's confusing to the consumer and confusing to Google which ad to show in which context. And so it can kind of be a toss-up as to which one actually shows and which one actually gets performance. So as long as you're segmenting out, you should be good to go.
Great. I love that. Another question is, what about B2B industries? Are you seeing the same shift and successes on mobile for them? Great question. B2B are business to business as opposed to business to consumer businesses. We are seeing a similar shift to mobile. I'd say not quite as much as consumers, but still it's definitely has moved in that direction. Businesses are seeing that they don't necessarily need the entire back office anymore. And so they're out in the plant, or they're out selling in the field, or they're in stores. And when they need to increase inventory or make some sort of important decision, they're turning to their phones to make sure that happens. And so we've seen a lot of success with our B2B businesses, at least the ones that I've worked with, in that they're really focusing on mobile and making sure they're targeting people. And there's great targeting methods for that. You could target people who are in similar audiences to the competitors that you are competing against, and things like that. So I'd say yes, in general, B2B is moving to mobile as well.
And if you think about the landscape of like the common business person today as well, I mean, a lot of times, yes, you are at a desk doing work, but in this day and age, especially in technology, people are very mobile. They're moving around, they're meeting with different people, they're often traveling. And so if you're looking for information on a specific product, say it's maybe you're making a software service and you're targeting, tech CEOs, for example, these people are going to be turning to their mobile devices all the time. So really, there isn't an industry that we haven't seen success with mobile, and there isn't a scenario in which it doesn't make sense to start to target these kind of micro moments of when is somebody actually going to be looking for and kind of doing research about this product.
Absolutely. Another question is, who has seen success with mobile call-only ads? Mobile call-only ads have been successful for a wide variety of clients. The great thing about them is you don't pay until someone calls you, and so if you're anybody who's looking for a phone call would find this very valuable. It's a really great way to not waste any money with your advertising budget. So we've seen everything from hair salons to locksmiths to taxi services to people who maybe restaurants who want reservations, any sort of services industry like dentists or any hygienic services offices, something like that. So I'd say we've seen a wide range. In general, if you don't want phone calls to your business, I wouldn't use a mobile call-only ad, but other than that,
sure.
a lot of businesses do want phone calls.
And a good example of this is we worked with a tow truck company, so someone who was doing like towing on the go. And this is actually a great example of a micro moment where they, kind of targeted people, or the searches that people who needed a towing service might put into Google, like, help, I'm stranded along the side of the highway, or I need a towing service right now. So really capitalizing on that immediacy, and had seen a lot of great success with call only, because calls in that business were kind of the most important measure of success. So implementing it there made a lot of sense. But again, not every single solution is going to be great for every single advertiser. So if you are like a software platform and you really are just looking for people to submit lead gen forms, you're not that interested in phone calls, it might not make sense there.
Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of different mobile options for different types of businesses. Terrence is asking, how do we best measure user bounce between mobile and online during path to conversion? I think this is asking maybe two questions, like users who are bouncing and leaving, and then users who are maybe switching between the two.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned cross-device conversion tracking.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a great way to measure who's starting on mobile and moving to online, and vice versa, and seeing where people convert there. Basically, we can measure in a variety of different ways if it's the same user who looks at your ad or looks at your website and then makes a purchase or fills out a lead on your site. In terms of bouncing, I mean, if you're using Google Analytics, bounces will measure very similar to how they've always been measured, which is if they don't spend much time on your site and they leave immediately, that will be counted as a bounce both for mobile and online.
Also, if I'm reading this question correctly, we've had actually a couple of advertisers make the case that bounce rates are really high on mobile, people aren't really engaging with our content, therefore it's not going to be useful for us. And it's really important to note that if people are bouncing on your site on mobile, it's usually indicative of a problem with the site, or the fact that the site really isn't set up for the mobile audience. What you want to do is make sure that your content is sticky enough that if somebody's like in store looking at your product or like doing some research, you want to keep them whether or not they're on a computer or on their mobile device. So if you're seeing really high bounce rates and you have an advertiser that's been really reticent to adopt mobile because of those bounce rates, the problem might be with the site rather than the industry.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we do have some resources for mobile site audits, basically, and we can post that to the partners page.
Sure.
The Google Plus page. Another question that we'll just post, I think, to the page is Trevor's asking, how do we enable store visit tracking? We can post a Help Center article there on how to get that done within your account. Store visit tracking is a great new way to see who's visiting your stores after seeing an ad.
Absolutely. And then, the other thing about in-store visits is before now it's been kind of difficult to track, who's actually, looking at an ad and that's whether or not that's actually influencing in-store traffic. And the good news is that Google is building solutions to try to account for this. It's not perfect yet, but we are getting a lot closer to understanding kind of what the influencing factor of mobile is on kind of, advertisers that are more interested in getting in-store traffic.
Absolutely. Yeah, mobile still somewhat is the Wild West. And so that's a positive and a negative. I think the negative is we can't track every little thing, but the positive is you can really make a splash by getting into mobile early, because that's where users are. And there's a lot of tools to get in front of your users.
It looks like we have another question here that's asking us if there are any industries that are particularly well-suited or not well-suited for mobile.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting question. And again, we've pretty much seen growth in mobile across the board. There really isn't a vertical that has shown slowing growth in mobile. This is really something that's exploding. It's kind of on trend with just the regular adoption metrics for mobile devices. So really the takeaway here is that pretty much every advertiser can benefit from not only opting into mobile, but also taking steps to understand how it impacts their business and actually see success by targeting rather than excluding mobile devices from their strategy.
Mm-hmm. And that's where things come in, like understanding that customer journey and the micro moments walk, is that what we called it?
Yeah.
Where you kind of look through and see what every customer is looking for throughout their day.
Sure.
So, well, these have been great questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're glad people were participating here throughout this event. I think I'm not seeing any more, so should we wrap things up?
Sure. If you have any lingering questions, we'll be available via the Google Plus page for Google Partners. So feel free to ask any follow-up questions or post them on the YouTube video when it's posted. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure presenting to you guys. Once again, my name is Amanda.
And I'm Rob, and go mobile. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, guys.